We can turn it off in the LFO section and send the amount of LFO from one of the performance controllers, such as the mod wheel. By accessing the modulation wheel parameter, number 25, we see displays for pitch modulation, amplitude modulation, and EG bias. If we increase the range of pitch modulation in the modulation wheel section, we can then control the amount of the LFO using the modulation wheel. We can do the same with amplitude modulation. Remember, this is only possible if the sensitivity for operators has already been set. As we see, the amplitude modulation sensitivity is at 7, as is the pitch modulation sensitivity. The third parameter in this modulation wheel section is EG bias, which stands for envelope generator bias. And it's just a fancy way of saying real-time control of the output level. For example, if I increase the EG bias, it's now possible for me to control the output level of whatever operator is sensitive to amplitude modulation. Let's go back and look at the sensitivity of our operators. Operator 1 has an amplitude modulation sensitivity of 7. Operator 2 does also. Let's go back to the modulation wheel settings and see what happens when we use the modulation wheel to control the output level of both operator 1 and 2. Again, all EG bias does is give you real-time control of the output level of each operator. Remember, it is operator specific, and you need to set the sensitivity of each operator to EG bias by setting the amplitude modulation sensitivity. Let's just examine what happens when we only set operator 2, the modulator, to receive EG bias. We go back to the sensitivity parameter, select operator 1, and turn its amplitude modulation sensitivity off. Now, when we engage the EG bias with the modulation wheel, we should hear the sound getting brighter or duller, not louder or softer. Remember our basic rule, that any output level control of an operator will affect carriers by changing the volume and modulators by changing timbre. We can control the amount of LFO, as we did with the modulation wheel, from aftertouch, or the breath controller, or a foot pedal.